In today's episode, we're talking all about Skate 4 Early Access. So follow along and let's talk some Skate. Welcome back to another episode of the Hippy Jump Podcast, a podcast all about the video game franchise Skate. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would greatly appreciate it if you like and subscribe to the podcast because it really helps me out. I know it's been literally forever since I recorded a new episode, especially one like this where I'm just talking straight to you guys. But you know, it's been...
Brother, this guy stinks!
Alright, okay, well, let's relax. I've been busy doing things and stuff, so, you know, it just kind of got away from me. I haven't been here to record a video. I am sorry. I know a lot has happened in terms of Skate. So much news, so many updates, playtest highlights. I mean, there's been a bunch of stuff. And yeah, I'm sorry that I haven't been here to talk about everything going on, but that's what this is. That's what we're going to do today. That's what this whole episode is about. I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff from console playtesting, Skate Early Access. I even have a couple questions from some of you guys that I'm going to talk about. So yeah, it should be a good episode. But anyways, let's jump right into it. So the title of this episode is Skate 4 Early Access. What does it mean? What are the details to this? What can we expect from early access? Really, no one knows the answer yet. There's been no information other than it's coming in 2025. But I want to just kind of talk to you guys about like what I think might happen, and especially when you hear early access, it's like, okay, well, if the game's in early access, things are unfinished, the game's not final, so what does that mean in terms of Skate? Like, you know, how do you release Skate in early access? How does that work? And I want to kind of break this down into sections. So right now, let's talk about what can still be unfinished in terms of Skate early access. Like, what things in this game can be a work in progress without it really hindering the experience? You know what I mean? I think one thing that absolutely cannot be unfinished is the skating. I think that is the most important part of the game. Obviously, the game is called Skate. I think we cannot launch this game in early access if that means we don't have specific tricks, especially tricks that were in past games. Like, say we haven't seen dark catches yet, we haven't seen dark slides. Those were in the last game. So like, if the game released in early access and we still didn't have them, I feel like that's an issue. And they've never commented on dark slides from what I'm aware of, so we're still kind of waiting on that. I think in terms of the skating, you can have tweaks here and there, like say it releases in early access and I don't know, some trick doesn't look as good as it could or something like that, and it's like, okay, well, it's still in early access, still a work in progress, we can tweak that later down the road. I feel like something like that isn't very big, like it's not like completely game breaking or a worse experience or anything. Another thing that I've been thinking about is the graphics of the game and how the game looks. How will this stuff look at the point of release for the early access? In my opinion, that should also be another thing that is finished for the most part. I feel like if we get into early access and the game doesn't look like it should or like it's going to, in the market of video games, first impressions are absolutely everything. So if someone gets on this early access, say they weren't a Skate fan previously and they want to finally give this game a shot, and they load this game up and it just doesn't look that good, like graphically it just doesn't look up to standards of what gaming is now, whatever that means, something like that might turn a new player off and be like, yeah, I don't want to play this. It doesn't look that great. I feel like that would be a rare case, but who knows, maybe that could happen. I feel like having the game looking really good and crisp is pretty important. So I wonder where they stand with that. I think something that can make a lot of sense for early access is the map. Let's say we've only seen the downtown area, and let's say the game only launches with that downtown area for early access. And they've kind of already talked about this before. They said, you know, the city's under construction, we're going to keep adding to it, blah, blah, blah. So if it's just the one downtown area and then over time, you know, they bring in more stuff, they add more stuff to the map, I think that's completely fine with early access. That makes a lot of sense to me. I would assume, since the game is early access, that's probably the main focus, other than like, you know, bug fixes and stuff, glitches and everything like that. Another thing that could be unfinished for early access is the clothing items. And I don't mean like the clothes look unfinished. I would hope they're kind of at the point to where they're supposed to be graphically and like physics wise. But in terms of the selection of clothes, they can always add in more clothes. I feel like that would make sense for early access. But you know, that kind of seems a little redundant because a game like this is just always gonna go. It's free to play. evergreen game. So I feel like that's always going to be the case for clothes. They're always going to be adding clothes, I would imagine. So I don't know. That's not really like an early access exclusive thing. I think that's gonna just be a thing in the game, period. Another thing I want to touch on real quick, because I've seen comments about this, is are you gonna have to pay to get an early access? Is it gonna be like like how EA does early access games like 10 days early or whatever? That's not what this is gonna be from what I can tell. I would assume, again, nothing confirmed, this is all just my speculation, just my opinion, but I would assume that the game is going to not launch at first, and it's going to be just an early access release. So you're going to go on your console, your PC, you're going to download the game, and it's going to be the game. You're going to have the game tile and everything. You get on it and it says, hey, early access is a work in progress. And then eventually one day we'll get to the 1.0 release, and then the game will be finished, even though it's been out through early access for a long time. A lot of games do this. I mean, so many games do this, especially on PC now. I think the biggest example of something like this is Fortnite. Fortnite was early access for a long time. Even though the game never really seemed like it was early access, they still called it that. And eventually they did say, okay, the game is released, but everyone had been playing it for years. Everyone knew what Fortnite was. So I think it's kind of like that situation. I would not imagine they would charge you. Another really interesting question is, will the early access be on PlayStation? Because early access is a little more complicated for PlayStation for some reason. They don't really allow early access games from what I understand. I don't know why. Again, we're going back to Fortnite. Fortnite has been on PlayStation since day one, and it was always early access. I feel like people kind of read into early access a lot. In my opinion, to me, it seems like the game is released, it's out, but early access is just saying, hey, things are gonna change, things that will be added. It's just, we're calling it early access so you know, like, the game is not finished. I feel like that is what the early access title is, and instead of like saying, like, essentially the game is out, it's just not done, I guess, which I don't know, this sounds stupid, but I feel like PlayStation would let that on their platform. It's not a testing program or something like that. It's the early it's Skate, but just not done. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I feel like this sounds stupid. This made way more sense in my head, but I think it will work on PlayStation. I'm sure PlayStation will get it. I mean, this is EA. Like, EA is gonna get that thing on PlayStation. I couldn't imagine if they didn't. One thing I want to mention is, like, when you sign up for playtesting, they ask you about PlayStation. So if they're going to playtest on PlayStation, they're absolutely going to have the early access on PlayStation. It makes no sense to have one and not the other. Another thing I've been thinking about is, what point will this game release then? Like, when will the full release be? When will the 1.0 release be? If we're in early access in 2025, is this game technically going to be finished in 2026? I don't know. I mean, no one knows, but I'm just wondering, like, how long will they keep this early access title on there? And it's just confusing to me, because it's like, okay, what will make the game not early access? Because the game is technically gonna be added on forever. So is the game just gonna always be early access? It's kind of confusing to me. Like, if you have a game that you're consistently adding on to, which is what this game seems like it is, at what point do you say, okay, well, this stuff isn't early access, this stuff is extra content that we planned after the release? I guess they would have a roadmap, and then once they reach the end of that roadmap, that's 1.0 release, and then they work on post-launch content. That's when it leaves early access. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen. I would assume that's what that means. Again, this is all just me speculating, and I have no idea. I'm just trying to think, like, in terms of other video games in the world and how other games work. I do wonder if the game will be complete by the end of next year. I don't think so, especially because we have no idea when the early access will start. So, I mean, the early access could start like next fall or something. I mean, the game will not be finished by then. I would assume they wouldn't be in early access too long. I'm willing to bet that 1.0 will be in 2026. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. Early access, man, early access could be in freaking like June. Who knows? Like, I mean, we still need console playtesting, which is coming this fall. So once the console playtesting is over, then it goes into early access. Well, once the console and PC playtesting, it will go into early access. So yeah, I wonder how long the console playtesting sessions will be. I'm guessing by the time it is on console, they would have the tricks and everything ironed out for the most part, or at least the tricks added to the game, and then you know the console playtesting is just seeing how well it runs on console and what bugs there are, what glitches they need to patch because it's on console, stuff like that. And then once that gets figured out, I guess that's when they go into early access. Again, I'm sure they have a roadmap, and they kind of are like, okay, well, this is early access will probably end around here depending on everything goes. So I don't know, I'm asking a lot of questions that I don't know the answer to. It's just me, I don't know, all this stuff's been in my head so much, and I'm like, man, let me just turn on the camera and let's talk. Let's just talk some skate, because it's been forever. Another big question that I've been seeing people talk about is, when is console playtesting? Which is an understandable question, because we're here, we're in fall. It is fall now, as today is October 19th. That means we are in the fall season. So October 19th, we still haven't gotten the playtest for console, and winter starts December 21st. So that means the window is still fairly big. We have all of November, half of October, basically, I guess like half of December. The console playtesting could come in December. Who knows? Again, they haven't mentioned it. They just said it was coming in the fall. So they are kind of running out of time. So console playtesting is inevitable. It's coming soon. You guys don't have to wait that much longer. It's getting here. I wonder how big the pools for the console playtesting will be, and kind of how hard they're going to be like hitting this console playtesting. Are they gonna do what they've been doing with PC, just over time slowly adding more people? I just wonder how quick the console playtesting will be, but I guess that's all dependent on how the game runs on consoles. So, but those are a lot of questions that have been on my mind. I want you guys to comment down below, like, any of these topics that interest you, or anything you have feedback on in terms of these topics. Like, let me know your opinion, your speculations. You know, I love talking to you guys. So yeah, I would love to know what you guys think. Before I end this episode, I wanted to talk about a few other things. A couple weeks ago, I went on my Instagram story and I asked, like, hey, early access has been announced. Like, what questions do you guys have for early access? And I got a few interesting answers that I just wanted to touch on and talk about. So the first one comes from Bump Control on Instagram. He said, I just hope it's not rushed. I feel like I'm in the minority. I'd rather it take longer and be a better game than rushing to get it out. We shall see. So what I find interesting about his answer is he said, I feel like I'm in the minority. And it can absolutely seem like that. When you read Skate's comments, like their Instagram, or if you read their YouTube comments, like, it absolutely feels like the people that just want them to take their time and just work on the game, it feels like we're in the minority, because everyone is just like, put out the game, give us a date, like drop the game, blah, 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 like just trying to rush them as much as possible. And those will be the same people that would complain if the game released and was unfinished, which is hilarious to me. I absolutely agree with what Bump Control's saying. I really hope it's not rushed, and I hope they take as much time as they need. I want this game to be right. We've been waiting so long for this game. I don't care to wait longer if that means the game will be finished and feel good. I am a huge Battlefield fan. I have Skate here, and then I have Battlefield here. Like, those are my two favorite franchises, and Battlefield has had troubles with really poor launches and the game being unfinished, and it sucks being a fan of those games and just like getting burned by them being rushed to put this game out. And it's not the developers' fault. Like, obviously they put these deadlines on these developers, and that's why these games end up like this. So I just hope that they take their time. There's no pressure from EA to finish this game. Just take their time, and it really does seem like that is the case. It doesn't seem like they've been rushing. A lot of people think they've been going too slow. I don't think that. I think however long it takes is how long it takes. That's what matters. You got to understand, you have to remember, like, they're building this game from the ground up. It's a new Skate game from the ground up, and this is a modern Skate game. It's not just, hey, Skate 3 again. Like, it's not Skate 2, it's not Skate 1. Like, this is a new game. They're modernizing the Skate franchise. It's not Skater XL with like dual sticks and a few maps, like no storyline. That's not what it's gonna be. Like, they're putting a lot of work into the game, so it's gonna take longer than other games. That's just how it is. But also, a lot of games take a long time to make. Some games take more than like 7 years. So it's just how it happens, man. This is just game development. The reason why it seems so much longer, and I've said this a million times, I feel like I've talked about this a million times, especially on this channel. The reason why it seems like it's so long is because when they announced the game, they haven't done anything yet. They didn't have a studio yet. There wasn't anything like that. So they had to form a studio. And by the time they did that, they had to do the mocap. They had to do all this stuff. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things I don't know about, of course, and that takes time. So you got to think probably like the first year of making this game was not actually making the game. It was getting the studio. It was hiring people. It was mocap. Which mocap is part of making the game, obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, and if you don't remember, they announced the studio a year after they announced that the game was actually being made. So that's why it seems like it's taking longer than usual. And also, one thing that's funny to me is like, if they had never announced this game, like if they didn't tell us they were making this game, we would still to this day not know that Skate 4 was being made, because that's how games work, especially EA. Like Need for Speed or Dragon Age or something, they'll announce the game like 2-3 months before they release the game. Like, we still wouldn't know about this game until a few months before the game even would come out. So I don't know. I would rather it be like we're seeing the progress. We know the game's being made. It's 2024. Instead of like, I would have lost hope by now. I mean, if there was no news, if there was no word on like if they're making Skate or not by now, I would have given up. For sure. Like, there's no way I would still be like, oh, we need the Skate 4. Like, it would be like, it's never happening. There's no chance. And I always wonder if like that's part of why they announced it. It's like, hey, like, we know you guys want this, and we haven't started yet, but like, we're gonna do it. Like, stay tuned. Just wait for us. Like, we're gonna make it. Don't give up. Like, we're making the game. I wonder if that's like part of that. I don't know. But anyways, that was a big rant that I just went on Bump Control's comment. But yeah, appreciate it for sending that in. I got another one from Pixels and Pints, my homie. Shout out. He said something interesting, something that I haven't talked about on this channel actually, and haven't really thought about either. He said, do you think that the servers will be stable enough for a largely popular early access release? I think this is a great point. I think there's been so much hype behind Skate for years, and we see it all the time in the video game industry. Games will release and their server capacity will not be ready for what happens, and the game launch will be rough, and something like that will turn people off to this game. And this game is obviously a mainly online game. We still don't know if we're gonna be able to play alone. So it's like, yeah, servers are a concern. When this game launches, there's gonna be a lot of people in this game for sure, on all platforms. There's gonna be new players, old players, like there's gonna be a whole bunch of people playing this game, especially because it's a free-to-play game. And that's a great question. I don't know if they'll be stable enough. Honestly, I'm gonna say they won't be. I see it so often in video games. I feel like it will be rough. I hope they're ready. I mean, I know part of playtesting is stress testing servers, so that's like a huge part of it, and I'm sure they're doing that a lot. So yeah, I hope they understand how many people are gonna be playing this game. I mean, I remember actually with my friend here, Pixels and Pints, we've known each other for a long time, and I remember when GTA Online released and we both played it. We were waiting for it to release, and we got on the second it released. We were so hyped, and there was a small window of GTA Online where you could get in and play. Like when it first launched, you could get in and play it and you were good. You were on online. But if you waited to play it, like it just wouldn't let you in. Like so many people got locked out of GTA Online when it first launched because the servers were so packed, and it was only like the initial people that really were able to play it on launch day. And I mean, that went on for like 2 weeks. Like server issues for GTA Online went on for so long, and that was a long time ago, and that was GTA and stuff, blah blah blah. But that's just a memory I have for server issues. That was rough. That was really bad. I really hope that's not the case with Skate. I hope the game is just flawless launch. It's perfect. Everyone's playing, everyone's having a great time, everyone's skating together, and it's just amazing, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. And then the last question comes from Nick Dimer. He said, when can I kickflip again? I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Hopefully soon in early access. Sometime next year, 2025, you will be doing a kickflip, Nick, so get ready. It's gonna be monumental. It will be iconic. It will be the greatest day of our lives. It will be the most amazing thing ever, and it's going to be the greatest game to ever happen on Earth. I hope. But yeah, that's really it, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Please, as always, leave your comments down below. I love to see them, and maybe I'll bring them into another video and kind of expand on what you guys think. But I need comments for that to happen. So if you have any thoughts on any of this stuff, I would really love to hear it. Negative or not, like, let's talk. Let's discuss everything. How do you feel? If you have made it this far in this video, comment down below at this point of the game with everything we've seen. How are you feeling? How do you feel about the game right now? now? Do you think it's going to be great? Do you think it's going in a direction that you don't like? I just want to know. Like, it's all your opinion. We're all just sharing our own opinions here. So I want to know, like, what are you guys thinking right now? How do you guys feel how everything's gone? How do the playtest highlights look to you? Like, what's your opinion? Please leave them down below. I love to read you guys' comments. So thank you in advance for that if you did it. I appreciate it. But anyway, guys, that's it for me today. It felt great to get back on here and talk. I feel like I've talked a lot. So yeah, I hope this was a good episode, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll be back here soon. By the way, go follow me on Instagram because I love to interact with you guys on there too. And I post things on my story sometimes, and even if it's not skate related, just me just being a person, so you can kind of get to know me a little better. And also just, I don't know, hit me up. Like, I'm not a famous YouTuber. You can talk to me. Anyone can talk to me. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, go play some skate.